There is something right now, in this moment, that you are holding on to so tightly your knuckles have gone white. You may not even know what it is consciously, but your body knows, your nervous system knows. That low hum of anxiety that never fully goes away, the tightness in your chest when you think about the future, that dull dread that wakes you at 4 in the morning and sits on your ribcage like a stone. That is not stress. That is attachment, and it is eating you alive. Maybe it is a person, someone you love who does not love you the same way, or someone who used to love you and stopped. You replay their words. You check their social media. You construct imaginary conversations where they finally say the thing you need to hear. You know it is over. Some part of you, the honest part, the part that speaks in whispers, has known for months. But you cannot let go, not because you still want them, because you are terrified of who you are without them. The version of you that exists outside of that relationship is a stranger, and strangers are frightening. Maybe it is a job, a position you have outgrown, a company that does not value you, a career that makes you feel like you are dying in slow motion from the inside out. You fantasize about quitting. You research alternatives. You build spreadsheets of what if. And then Monday morning comes and you sit back down at the same desk, in the same chair, staring at the same screen, because the known misery feels safer than the unknown possibility. You have confused familiarity with security. They are not the same thing. Familiarity is a cage with a comfortable floor. Security is something you carry inside you regardless of where you stand. Maybe it is an identity. This is the one that cuts the deepest because it is the one you cannot see. You have built a version of yourself over years, over decades, assembled from the expectations of your parents, the approval of your peers, the narrative you tell at dinner parties. I am the successful one. I am the tough one. I am the smart one. I am the good one. And now that identity has become a prison because you have outgrown it. But you cannot shed it. You cannot evolve because evolution requires the death of the current form. And you are too attached to the current form to let it die. Niccolò Machiavelli understood attachment better than any therapist, any guru, any self-help author, writing from the safety of a comfortable life. He understood it because he lived its consequences. In 1512, Machiavelli lost everything: his position, his income, his influence, his freedom. The republic he had served for 14 years was overthrown. The Medici returned to power, and they did not simply dismiss him. They arrested him, they tortured him, they hung him by his arms until his shoulders dislocated, and then they released him into exile. Not as an act of mercy, as an act of erasure. They wanted him to disappear. Most men faced with this level of loss would have spent the rest of their lives trying to get it back, begging, scheming, writing letters to the powerful, asking for reinstatement. And Machiavelli did write letters. He was human. The attachment was there. But something in him, something harder and colder and more honest than the attachment, eventually took over. He stopped trying to recover what was lost. He stopped clinging to the identity of Machiavelli the statesman. And in that release, in that act of radical detachment from the life he thought was his, he found something that the life he lost could never have given him. He found the freedom to think without constraint, to observe without agenda, to write without performing for an audience of powerful men whose approval he no longer needed. The result was The Prince, a book so clear, so ruthlessly honest, so detached from the need to be liked or accepted or morally approved of that it has disturbed and fascinated readers for 500 years. That book could not have been written by a man who was still attached to his old life. It could only have been written by a man who had let go. Completely. Absolutely. Irrevocably. That is what I am going to teach you today. Not how to cope with loss. Not how to manage your emotions. Not how to gradually ease your grip on the things you are clinging to. I am going to teach you how to open your hand entirely. How to stand in the middle of your life and release everything you think you need. And I'm going to show you why that release, that terrifying, counterintuitive, ego-destroying act of letting go, is not the end of your power. It is the beginning of a power so absolute that the people around you will not know what to do with you. Because a person who needs nothing cannot be controlled. And a person who cannot be controlled is the most dangerous person in any room. But I must warn you, what follows is not comfortable. Detachment is not a warm philosophy. It is not the gentle release they teach you in meditation class. It is a blade. It cuts the ropes that connect you to the things you love, the things you fear losing, the things you have organized your entire life around. And when those ropes are cut, you will fall, briefly, terrifyingly, into a void that has no floor. And then you will discover something that changes everything. You do not need a floor. You never did. You just needed to stop being afraid of the falling. Chain 1. Attachment to outcomes. You set a goal. You visualize the result. You see yourself crossing the finish line, getting the promotion, closing the deal, winning the person. And in the moment, you attach your emotional well-being to that outcome. You have lost before you have started, not because the goal is wrong, because the attachment to the goal has fundamentally compromised your ability to pursue it effectively. When you are attached to an outcome, your nervous system treats the potential failure of that outcome as a survival threat. Your amygdala activates, cortisol floods your system, your cognitive function narrows, you become rigid, anxious, and reactive. You grip the steering wheel so tightly that you cannot make the small adjustments required to navigate the road. You micromanage, you catastrophize, you second-guess every decision because each decision feels like it carries the weight of your entire future. Machiavelli observed this pattern in every failed prince he studied. The rulers who were most desperate to hold power were the ones who held it most poorly. Their desperation made them paranoid, their paranoia made them cruel, their cruelty made them hated, and their hatred made them vulnerable to the exact overthrow they were trying to prevent. The attachment to the outcome created the very conditions that destroyed the outcome. It is a perfect self-sabotage loop. The Stoics had a name for this. They called it the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that there are things within your power and things not within your power. Your effort is within your power. Your preparation is within your power. Your strategy, your discipline, your focus, these are yours. The result is not. The result belongs to fortune, to circumstance, to the thousand variables you cannot predict or control. When you attach your peace to the result, you have handed your peace to chaos. And chaos is not a reliable guardian. The counter-practice is process attachment. You fall in love with the work, not the reward. You train because training is who you are, not because you need to win the competition. You build the business because building is your function, not because you need the revenue to validate your existence. You pursue the relationship because connection is valuable, not because you need this specific person to complete you. When the outcome is released, the process becomes pure, uncontaminated by fear, uncompromised by desperation. And paradoxically, the purity of the process produces better outcomes than the attachment ever did, because you are no longer operating from anxiety. You are operating from clarity, and clarity is the ultimate competitive advantage. Chain 2. Attachment to people. This is the chain that draws the most blood when it is cut. Because we have been taught that attachment to people is love. It is not. Love is a choice you make freely from a place of wholeness. Attachment is a need you cannot control from a place of emptiness. They feel similar from the inside. From the outside, they produce completely different results. When you are attached to a person, you have outsourced a critical piece of your psychological infrastructure to them. Maybe they carry your sense of worth. Maybe they carry your sense of belonging. Maybe they carry the only version of yourself that you actually like. When they are present and engaged, you feel whole. When they are distant or displeased, you feel fractured. Your emotional state becomes a satellite orbiting their mood. Their happiness is your stability. Their withdrawal is your crisis. This gives them power they did not ask for and often do not want. The attached person becomes heavy. Their love is not a gift freely given. It is a demand disguised as devotion. Be here. Do not leave. Reassure me. Prove that I matter. These demands, spoken or unspoken, create the exact pressure that drives people away. The tighter you grip, the more they pull back. The more they pull back, the tighter you grip. Until one day they are gone and you are left holding nothing but your own clenched fist, wondering why it hurts so much. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who relies entirely on the goodwill of others lays the foundation for his own ruin. Translate this from politics to the personal. A man who relies entirely on one person for his emotional stability has laid the foundation for his own psychological collapse. Not because that person is unreliable, because dependency itself is the vulnerability. Even the most loyal, loving, devoted partner can be taken from you by death, by circumstance, by the slow drift of time. If your entire architecture depends on their presence, you are not building a life. You are building a house of cards and calling the bottom card a foundation. The detached approach to relationships is not cold. It is the warmest thing you can do for another person. Because when you show up whole, when you arrive in a relationship not needing them to complete you, but choosing them because you want to share what you have already built, you give them the gift of freedom. You free them from the burden of being your emotional life support system. You free them from the guilt of wanting space. You free them from the impossible task of being the single source of another person's happiness. And in that freedom, the relationship breathes. It grows. It becomes what love was always supposed to be. Two complete people choosing each other, not two incomplete people clinging to each other. Chain 3. Attachment to identity. This is the invisible chain, the one you do not know you are wearing because you have confused it with your skin. Your identity, the story you tell about who you are, is the most powerful attachment you carry. And it is the most resistant to release because releasing it feels like dying. I am the smart one. I am the provider. I am the disciplined one. I am the one who never quits. I am the one who has it together. These labels feel like strength. They feel like pillars, but they are actually walls. And the walls are closing in because life demands growth. Life demands evolution. Life demands that the person you were at 25 dies, so the person you need to become at 35 can be born. But if you are attached to the 25-year-old's identity, you will fight that death with everything you have. You will cling to the old label even as it suffocates you. You will refuse the new path because the new path does not fit the old story. You will stay in the career that made you who you were, even though it is no longer who you need to be. You will maintain the persona that earned you approval, even though it has become a cage. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous thing a prince can do is remain static. The world changes, the terrain shifts, the enemies evolve. A prince who insists on being the same ruler in a changed world is a prince who will be consumed by that world. He must be willing to shed his skin, to contradict his own history, to become unrecognizable to the person he was 5 years ago. Not because the old self was wrong, because the old self was completed. Its purpose was served, its lessons were learned. Holding on to it past its expiration date is not loyalty to yourself. It is a refusal to continue your own story. The detached person wears identity lightly, like a coat, not a skin. Today I am this, tomorrow I may be something else. The core remains, the values endure, but the form adapts, the labels shift, the story continues, and each chapter requires a new character. If you insist on being the protagonist from Chapter 1, you will never make it to Chapter 10. Principle 1. Strategic indifference. There is a difference between not caring and choosing not to invest emotional energy in things you cannot change. The first is apathy. The second is intelligence. Strategic indifference is the trained cognitive reflex of identifying in real time what is within your control and what is not, and then allocating zero emotional energy to the latter. Someone is talking about you behind your back. Is their conversation within your control? No. Strategic indifference. The economy shifts and your investment drops. Is the global market within your control? No. Strategic indifference. A stranger on the internet insults your work. Is their opinion within your control? No. Strategic indifference. This sounds simple. It is excruciating to practice because your brain does not naturally sort inputs by controllability. It sorts them by threat level, and something can be completely outside your control and still register as a high threat. Your reputation being damaged, your partner being attracted to someone else, your industry being disrupted. None of these are controllable. All of them trigger full stress responses. Strategic indifference is the practice of intercepting that stress response and redirecting it before it consumes resources you need for things you can actually affect. Machiavelli practiced this through his writing. In his letters to friends, he described the agony of exile, the frustration of being ignored by the powerful. But in his actual work, his analysis, his strategy, his philosophy, there is no trace of self-pity. There is only assessment. Clear, cold, detached assessment of how the world actually works. He separated his emotional experience from his cognitive output. He felt everything, but he allowed his feelings to influence nothing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strategic indifference is the operational implementation of that realization. It is the daily, hourly, minute-by-minute practice of asking, does this deserve my energy? And answering honestly. Most things do not. Most things that consume your emotional bandwidth are noise. Background noise that feels urgent but produces nothing. When you stop feeding the noise, the silence that remains is not empty. It is spacious, and in that space you can finally think. Principle 2. The replaceable mindset. This one will make you uncomfortable. But discomfort is where transformation lives. You must begin to treat every element of your life as replaceable. Not because it lacks value, because the belief in irreplaceability creates a vulnerability so profound that it can be exploited by anyone who identifies it. When you believe your partner is irreplaceable, you will tolerate things from them that you would never tolerate from anyone else. When you believe your job is irreplaceable, you will accept conditions that are slowly destroying you. When you believe your current city, your current friend group, your current lifestyle is irreplaceable, you become a prisoner of circumstance disguised as a person making choices. The replaceable mindset does not mean you do not value things. It means you value yourself more than any single element of your life. It means you know with a quiet certainty that sits in your bones that if this relationship ended, you would grieve and then rebuild. If this career collapsed, you would adapt and then surpass. If this entire life burned to the ground, you would stand in the ashes, take a breath, and start constructing something new. Machiavelli saw this principle at work in the most successful rulers of his era. The ones who survived were not the ones who clung to their current alliances, their current strategies, their current territories. They were the ones who could abandon any position, any alliance, any strategy the moment it became a liability, not because they lacked loyalty, because they understood that loyalty to a sinking ship is not honor, it is suicide. When you adopt the replaceable mindset, you paradoxically begin to value things more, not less, because you are choosing to be here, not trapped here, not dependent on here, choosing. And the choice made from freedom carries a weight and a beauty that a choice made from dependency never can. You love the person because you want to, not because you cannot survive without them. You stay in the job because it serves your vision, not because you are terrified of the alternative. Every element of your life becomes a conscious selection rather than a desperate clutch, and that transforms everything. Principle 3. Emotional observation. You are not your emotions. This sentence has been repeated so many times that it has lost all meaning. Let me give it meaning back. Right now, as you listen to these words, there is a feeling somewhere in your body. Maybe it is tension in your jaw. Maybe it is heaviness in your chest. Maybe it is a restless energy in your legs. That feeling is producing thoughts, and those thoughts are producing a narrative. And that narrative is telling you something about your life, your worth, your future, and you're believing it. You are inside the narrative. You are the character in a story your nervous system is writing in real time. Emotional observation is the practice of stepping outside the narrative, not suppressing it, not arguing with it, observing it. You notice the tension, you notice the thought, you notice the story, and instead of merging with it, you watch it from a slight distance, like watching rain through a window rather than standing in the storm. The Stoics call this the inner citadel, the part of you that is always calm, always watching, always present, regardless of what the emotions are doing. When you learn to access this observer, you gain something that most people never develop: the ability to feel without being moved, the ability to experience anger without becoming angry, to experience fear without becoming afraid, to experience grief without drowning in it. This is what makes detachment powerful rather than hollow. You are not numbing yourself. You are expanding yourself. You are developing a part of your consciousness that is larger than any single emotion. And from that larger perspective, the emotions become data points rather than dictators. They inform your strategy without commanding your behavior. You feel the anger and you choose whether to express it or contain it based on what serves your interests. You feel the attachment and you choose whether to act on it or observe it based on what serves your growth. Machiavelli's writing demonstrates this quality on every page. He describes horrifying political acts, betrayals, massacres, tyranny, with the detached precision of a surgeon describing an operation. He is not cold, he is observing. He is extracting lessons from events that most people can only react to emotionally. And because he observes rather than reacts, he sees patterns that the reactive mind cannot access. The reactive mind is too busy being outraged to notice the structure beneath the outrage. Principle 4. The detached strike. Here is a truth that will change how you operate in every high-stakes situation for the rest of your life. The person who cares least about the outcome of a negotiation is the person who wins the negotiation. Every time. Without exception. This is not theory. This is observable law. When you need the deal, the other party can smell it. Your eagerness leaks through your body language, your vocal tone, your willingness to make concessions. You adjust your position. You lower your price. You accommodate demands that you should reject, because you need the outcome and that need has made you a hostage. When you do not need the deal, the dynamic inverts. You sit back, you take your time, you say things like, "I appreciate the offer, and I will consider it," without any urgency in your voice. You are willing to walk away, not as a tactic, as a genuine reality. The deal would be nice, but you do not need it, and that energy, that settled, grounded, take it or leave it energy, is the most powerful negotiation tool in existence, because it communicates something that no amount of clever argumentation can communicate. I am fine without this. Are you fine without me? Machiavelli observed that the princes who won the most were the ones who were willing to lose. They could walk away from any alliance, any territory, any advantage, because their identity and their security were not dependent on any single element. This willingness to lose gave them an asymmetric advantage in every negotiation, because the other party, the one who desperately needed the deal, was always the one who made concessions. Always. The desperate party negotiates from weakness. The detached party negotiates from position, and position always defeats desperation. Apply this to every area of your life. The job interview. If you need this job, you will perform with the subtle stench of desperation that every interviewer can detect. If you want this job but do not need it, you will sit in the chair with the quiet confidence of a person who has options. The relationship. If you need this person, you will accommodate their worst behavior because the alternative is being alone. If you want this person but do not need them, you will hold your standards because your standards matter more than any single relationship. The detached strike is the action taken from zero emotional investment in the result. It is pure execution, uncontaminated by hope, by fear, by need. It is the punch thrown by a fighter who does not care whether he wins or loses. That punch is always faster, always more precise, always more devastating. Because there is nothing slowing it down, no internal resistance, no second guessing. Just the clean, cold trajectory of a mind that has freed itself from the tyranny of caring too much. When you genuinely detach, when you cut the chains of outcome, people, and identity, something happens that nobody warns you about. The world changes its behavior toward you, not gradually, almost overnight. And the change is so dramatic that at first you will think you are imagining it. The first thing that changes is your relationships. The people in your life are accustomed to a version of you that needs them, that accommodates them, that adjusts to their moods and manages their feelings and prioritizes their comfort over your own truth. When you detach, that version disappears. And the people who were comfortable with that version will be profoundly disoriented. Some of them will try to pull the old you back. They will say you have changed, and they will not mean it as a compliment. They will test your boundaries more aggressively to see if the new boundaries are real. They will attempt to trigger your old patterns of accommodation. If they succeed, you will snap back into attachment and the dynamic will resume as before. If they fail, if you hold your detached position through the discomfort and the guilt and the fear of abandonment, something remarkable happens. They adjust, they recalibrate, they begin to treat you with a care and a consideration that they never displayed when you were clinging to them. Not because they suddenly became better people. Because the dynamic has shifted. You are no longer the one who needs. You are the one who chooses. And being chosen by someone who does not need you is infinitely more valuable than being clung to by someone who does. Some of the people will leave. This is the part that detachment demands you accept before you begin. Not everyone will survive your evolution. The relationships that were built on your neediness will collapse when the neediness is removed, because the neediness was the foundation. Without it, there is nothing holding the structure together. These departures will hurt, but the pain will be clean. It will be the pain of a surgeon removing dead tissue rather than the pain of a slow infection that never heals. The people who remain after the detachment are the real ones, the ones who are capable of meeting you as an equal rather than feeding on you as a dependent. The second thing that changes is your career. When you detach from the outcome of your work, you begin to work differently. You take risks that the attached version of you could never stomach. You pitch the ambitious idea because you do not need approval. You start the project because the process excites you, not because you need validation from the result. You negotiate from strength because you do not need this specific deal, this specific client, this specific opportunity. You become the person who walks into the room with nothing to lose. And that person, in any competitive environment, is the most dangerous player on the field. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors the bold. But boldness is not possible when you are attached. Attachment creates caution. Caution creates hesitation. Hesitation creates missed opportunities. The detached person does not hesitate because there is nothing at stake. Not because the situation is unimportant. Because their identity, their peace, their sense of self is not riding on the outcome. They can afford to be bold because the cost of failure is merely a lesson, not an existential crisis. The third thing that changes is your psychology. The background anxiety that has been your constant companion for years begins to dissolve. Not all at once, in layers. You stop waking up at 4 in the morning with that stone on your chest. You stop checking your phone compulsively for messages that will determine your mood. You stop running mental simulations of worst-case scenarios because the worst-case scenario has lost its power. You have already rehearsed losing everything. You have already made peace with the possibility, and in that peace, the anxiety finds no purchase. It cannot grip a surface that has been smoothed by acceptance. The fourth thing that changes is your physical presence. This is the one that people notice first, even though it is the last to develop internally. Your body begins to express the detachment before your mind has fully integrated it. Your movements slow down because you are no longer rushing towards something or running from something. Your eye contact steadies because you are no longer searching for approval or scanning for threats. Your voice drops into its natural register because you are no longer straining to be heard or tightening against the fear of being judged. You become physically still in a way that most people never achieve because most people are being pulled in 12 directions by 12 attachments. You are being pulled by nothing. And that stillness, that centered gravitational presence is what makes people nervous around you. They cannot identify what is different. They just feel it. Something about you does not fit the normal pattern. You are in the room, but you are not performing for the room. You are engaged, but not invested. You are present, but not dependent on the interaction going well. This creates a cognitive dissonance in the observer. Their pattern recognition system is flagging you as anomalous. They do not know what you want because you do not seem to want anything. They do not know what moves you because nothing seems to move you. And a person who cannot be read is a person who cannot be controlled. And a person who cannot be controlled is always treated with more care than a person who can. Here is the paradox that sits at the center of everything I have told you today. The things you chase run from you. The things you release come to you. This is not magic. This is not manifestation. This is not the universe responding to your vibration. This is psychology operating according to its own internal logic, a logic so consistent it might as well be physics. When you chase a person, you signal need. Need signals dependency. Dependency signals low value. Low value signals that your affection is not selective. Non-selective affection is cheap, and cheap things are not valued. The person you are chasing subconsciously registers all of this in the first 30 seconds of the interaction. They pull back, not because they do not like you, because your energy is repulsive in the literal sense. It pushes them away. When you release a person, you signal wholeness. Wholeness signals independence. Independence signals high value. High value signals that your attention is selective. Selective attention is rare, and rare things are pursued. The person you released subconsciously registers all of this. They lean in, not because you played a game, because your energy has shifted from taking to offering, from needing to choosing, from drowning to standing on solid ground with a hand extended. The same mechanism operates in every domain. Chase money and it eludes you, because the desperation makes you make bad decisions, take bad deals, stay in bad positions. Release the attachment to money and you begin to make decisions based on long-term value rather than short-term survival. Those decisions compound. The money comes, not because you did not care, because you cared about the right things. Process over outcome, value creation over value extraction, long-term positioning over immediate gratification. Chase status and you become a performer, a slave to the audience, constantly calibrating your behavior to maximize approval. Release the attachment to status and you become authentic, not performatively authentic, the manufactured authenticity that is itself a status play, genuinely authentic, the kind that emerges when you simply stop caring what the audience thinks. And genuine authenticity, because it is so rare, becomes the most powerful status signal available. The person who does not care about status paradoxically occupies the highest status position because everyone else is trying, and they are not. Machiavelli lived this paradox when he was attached to his position, when he was performing for the Medici and the Republic and the power structures of Florence. He was a functionary, competent, useful, forgettable. When he was stripped of everything and forced into detachment, he became immortal. The book he wrote in exile, the book that needed nothing from anyone, that performed for no audience, that sought no approval, that book changed the world. 500 years of influence born from a man who had nothing left to lose and therefore nothing left to hide. There is a fear that sits beneath all resistance to detachment. It is the fear of emptiness. If I let go of the relationship, I will be alone. If I let go of the career, I will be purposeless. If I let go of the identity, I will be nobody. This fear is valid, it is real, and it is raw. What you will find beneath the attachment is not emptiness. It is space. Space that was always there, but was so filled with the noise of need, of grasping, of clinging, that you could not perceive it. In that space, there is not nothing. There is everything, every possibility you were too afraid to pursue, every version of yourself you were too attached to the current version to explore, every relationship that is waiting for a whole person to show up, rather than a desperate one, every opportunity that requires a clear mind and a clean slate. Detachment is not the end of feeling. It is the beginning of feeling without fear. When you are attached, every feeling carries a threat. The joy of the relationship is contaminated by the terror of losing it. The satisfaction of the achievement is polluted by the anxiety of maintaining it. The love is soured by the dependency. When you detach, the feelings remain but the threat disappears. You can love without fear because you know you will survive the loss. You can enjoy success without anxiety because you know you will survive the failure. You can be present without performing because you know that your worth does not depend on the outcome of this moment. This is freedom, not the freedom they sell you on advertisements, not the freedom of having enough money to do what you want, the freedom of needing nothing, the freedom of standing in the center of your life with open hands and knowing that whatever comes, you are enough, whatever goes, you remain, whatever changes, the core endures. Machiavelli found this freedom in exile. Marcus Aurelius found it on the battlefield. Seneca found it facing execution. None of them would have chosen the circumstances that forced them into detachment, but each of them recognized in hindsight that the loss was the gift. The stripping away was the building up. The destruction of everything they were attached to was the construction of everything they were meant to become. You do not need to wait for exile. You do not need to wait for the loss. You can choose detachment now, voluntarily, deliberately, while you still have everything. And that voluntary release, while you are holding the thing in your hands, while you still love it, while it still brings you joy, that is the most powerful version of detachment available, because it proves that you are not detaching from bitterness. You are detaching from sovereignty. You are not letting go because you lost. You are letting go because you are free. And free people hold things differently, loosely, gratefully, without the white-knuckle grip that turns love into a prison and joy into anxiety. Open your hands, not because the things you are holding are not valuable, because you are more valuable than any of them. And a person who knows their own value does not cling. They stand still, they breathe, and they let the world come to them. If this landed somewhere beneath your defenses, somewhere in the part of you that has been clinging and suffering and pretending the clinging was love, then something has already shifted. You do not need another video. You do not need another book. You need to practice. One attachment at a time, one open hand at a time, one act of terrifying, liberating release at a time. Subscribe to this channel not because you need it, because you have decided that needing is no longer the operating system you run on. The old program was survive, cling, grip, fear. The new program is observe, release, create, move. Machiavelli did not write The Prince for the attached. He wrote it for the free. And today, for the first time in a long time, you are free.